We'd like to start this meeting today, the August 20th, Washington Independent Board of Education. We'd like to pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first order of business today will be the approval of minutes, and we've got two motions we need to make. Our June minutes, Mr. Stone wasn't here. I don't think, need a motion to approve the minutes of the July, sorry, thank you. 7/16, I should just read what's in front of me. And do we have a motion to approve those minutes, please?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
As stated, Mr. Board, I will abstain.
Mr. Board? Yeah. Well, we have an abstention from Mr. Stone. All in favor, we have aye. All opposed? And the motion passes. Then we have August, or the next month, 8/10. Let me do that better. Need a motion to approve the minutes of 8/01/19.
Motion.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Now we're going to have the confirmation and approval of claims. Ms. Rogers is going to tell us all about that.
Alrighty, so the total of the claims before you today is $1,683,470.19. Of that amount, Fund 1 totals $459,234.08. That's about $108,000 more than it was last year at this time, and there's a few reasons for that are noted there in your board packet. First of all, the Fifth Third payment, credit card usage was about $68,000 for this month. So we've been mentioning that every month because that's different from last year. We should catch up in September. There'll be partial Fifth Third Bank, then October is really when it was in full effect. The timing of payment for our Liberty Mutual Insurance, which is our property insurance, which is different month that it was paid this time. Some ViewSonics were purchased for technology in our school. And then also we had a payment to South Central Roofing. So it's kind of ironic that we actually paid a roofing project last year at this time. So it was just about $10,000 different over last year. That was for the elementary school this year and the Board of Education office also. And then our Fund 400, our debt service payments for this month were $806,566.94. I just wanted to make a note to you all too that we do have some Fund 25 activity that's included in that total for this month. That was about $70,000. So if you recall, we've made transfer of the school activity funds from the school level to the district level. So we'll start seeing those expenditures in your claim report. Do you all have any questions about any of the claims before you today?
Chairman, I will have to abstain again for Davis Company.
That is fine. Okay, we need an approval for the claims, please, with the exception of Mr. Stone.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have our financial reports. I think Ms. Rogers is going to say something.
Yes. So for the treasurer's report for July ending, we have a verified cash balance of $4,219,407.21. If you'll note down there in the division between the funds, you'll see that Fund 25 overspent for the month of July ending. Looks like $7,300. That is because we didn't actually make the deposits from the schools until the first week of August. We wanted them to reconcile for July ending before they cut that check to the district. So I just wanted you to be aware also, we've had bookkeeper training that went really, really smooth. The transition's going well. We're going to see, as I said, more activity here at the district level. But so far, so good. And we're in compliance with that new GASB rule. And then also I wanted to point out down here at Fund 400, you see there's an overage. That's for our debt service because we haven't received that nickel money yet, and we'll make that transfer later in the fiscal year. And then also Fund 51 and 52, there's an overage there. And that's just because of the activity in those two funds. They lag behind in revenue at the beginning of the year, so that's why you're seeing that. And then I just wanted to make you aware of a couple other items. So the fiscal year 2019 audit work has begun. The auditors are in our district this week, working with the school bookkeepers, auditing those school funds. And then we anticipate that they'll be here the week of September 23rd to start their district field work here with us here at this level. So we hope to have that work concluded by Friday, October 11th, so that you'll receive that information at the October board meeting. And then also, I just wanted to make you aware that after your approval today of the tax rate, we'll finalize that budget work for you all to have the working budget before you next month. So really, you've seen all the information. What we'll be doing right now is just finalizing that salary and benefit information, just updating that, and then also with our tax revenue and beginning balance after our audit. That's all I have for you today.
As far as I have questions
Yes,
regarding the
sir.
nickels, do they come in at different times of the year, or is it all always at one lump in the end, or how's that work?
So the local nickels are collected as your tax comes in. So that's why we usually wait until February, when the majority of our tax collection is here, to make that one transfer. The state nickels come into the district 2 different times a year, broken up in half.
Okay, great, thanks.
Sure, you're welcome.
All righty, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
We have the next on our agenda is our superintendent report.
Thank you, Mr. Hibbs. An entertaining but brief superintendent report this time around. We've been in school, gosh, going on 3 weeks, I guess. Unlike a lot of places, a lot of places are just getting started. I thought, I would encourage any board member that ever has the opportunity to be around on those first days of school, especially the first day. There's just a lot of energy and excitement, lots of smiling faces, some occasional tears when that student starts kindergarten maybe, or makes that move to another school. But overall, I would say it's exceedingly positive, and it's just a really exciting time, just a lot of energy overall. In the spirit of the first day of school, and definitely seeing our staff interact so warmly with our students, I have a little slideshow for you. So, Mr. Beck. It's just a sampling of just that positive energy that you see in these first few days of school.
I just appreciate the board and all the awesome staff that we have that serve kids. This is a really special place, so just give you a little glimpse of that. That completes superintendent's report.
Well, that was
Have you
short
seen
and
the
sweet.
Facebook picture? It's the first day of school, and there's 5 or 6 parents lined up outside the school looking in the window.
Very fitting, yes. It's, what's the first day of school is harder on parents, maybe, but it is on kids, yeah, very possibly.
Good, great. Thank you, Mr. Roby. Item 5 is a recognition of visitors, and we have, I think, we have a list or just a couple, Mr. Geese, and,
Did you all have any comments or anything today?
This from Mrs. Geese.
oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Mrs.
no real
Geese.
comments. It was just very informative last night. I was glad we attended.
We're glad you're here, yeah, glad you're here. Okay, if there's no other comments, we'll move forward with that. We have the second reading of our board policy updates.
All right, Mr. Bowling.
Mr. Bowling.
Okay, we had a nice conversation last week about our board policy updates, last month, rather. A couple of things as a quick recap. There were about 40 updates that were recommended, but basically required, and most of those, if you remember, were due to legislation. And I think hopefully you will recognize this. I think Brian sent this around. That kind of recaps all the new legislation that affects education. Most of the policy updates were due to about 5 of those pieces of legislation. One of the things that we discussed last week was the new tobacco-free campus requirement that includes vaping and also, what do they call it, alternative nicotine products and things like that. And I think Mr. Roby had a question about how that would be policed. And I think it's important, as I did some research on it, to note that it is a KRS. It is in KRS that schools adopt policy on that, but it is not against the law per se, which means police would not fine an individual if they were smoking on a campus. But it does give the school districts a little teeth, if you will, to put those policies into place because we basically have to. And then we're required to monitor that and police it. And we will do that in our own way, obviously, in a customer service friendly way to just inform. A lot of people would just need to be informed that, it's in Kentucky Revised Statute now. So comments on that. There wasn't any real new information that came out between last month and this month. Did you all have any additional questions based on what you may have looked over between times?
I'll ask just a very quick question about
Sure.
tobacco use. Are we talking mainly students, or are we talking about parents and individuals on the campus?
It's all of the above.
All of the above?
Mhm.
Okay.
And there is a requirement that we change we've always had signs that say tobacco-free campus and things like that, but now the requirement is those signs have to be amended. And we have a little grace period to work on that, and we're working on it.
Well, I guess what when we talk about any type of repercussion, whether you police the students and say, look, you can't smoke, you're suspended for 2 days,
Yeah.
but the parents come out smoking, what do you do with them?
Really, this is more what this is about. It's about sporting events, a football game, outside of a basketball game at intermission and things like that. That will be our bigger challenge. We have a pretty good handle on the students in the school. It's everybody else after hours and things like that we have to.
But does a
We gotta
policy,
work on.
do we have a policy? We don't really have any legal authority to tell that person to get off the campus, or there's someone that says you gotta leave if you're smoking.
Well, right. We don't,
I know it's a challenge, and I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot.
No, it's okay. We don't actively, seek to remove people off campus, but it's more to let them know that it is a KRS now, that there is no tobacco use or alternative tobacco use on school campuses in the state of Kentucky.
We're talking about tobacco chewing, dipping, vaping, anything.
All of it. And that was the big change this year. It used to just say tobacco, and now it's tobacco and alternative nicotine products is the actual words. To include vaping.
Public service announcement by the people in the press box and at the basketball games and every other sporting event that's
glad that
working
you-
on this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm glad that you said that because we have created something. The KHSAA has instituted new rules for
Sportsmanship, yeah.
sportsmanship. We've always had a sportsmanship statement for players. Now there is one for spectators, and there are rules that if a parent or any spectator, it has to be removed from a ball game, they cannot attend the next game as well. Just the same as if a player was kicked out of a game, then they missed their right to participate in the next game. It's now the same for parents. So we had to revise that statement. We also included at the end of that statement a brief message about the tobacco-free campus and the new rules for that.
Well, how do you enforce that? Who's going to keep the guy from coming in? Police?
Well,
Are you going to do that? or-
Yes, school officials.
And I can speak to
Please,
that.
yeah,
So
sorry.
there are certainly occasions, and they are very rare,
Mhm.
but there are occasions that someone may be asked to leave a game. I've dealt with that personally. It's never fun, but it is something that usually is handled very respectfully and it goes well. Yeah, I mean, it's not folks just sometimes get carried away in an event, but they understand ultimately, and things go very smoothly. So I think the best answer, and I think we certainly could what if in that, but from experience, we have a great community.
Yes.
Even those people that are spectators, if they do get a little rowdy and a referee asks someone to leave, I really can't think of any example where that is extremely difficult, and ultimately people comply with that and they understand. And we also enforce the next game too, and we have
Absolutely.
folks looking.
But to answer the question,
it's not
it is
difficult.
up to us,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And it, like Brian said, we have a conversation, and usually it's.
I think we'll put
works out.
Zero Roby in charge.
Yeah, there you go. Mr. Rowe in charge.
I vote we put the SRO officer.
I hear you.
He's got the gun.
Okay.
So-
we need to.
Yeah, there are no further than.
All right, let's move on.
Jimmy's got to do that.
What is said in this room stays in this room.
So with the second reading of the board policy, I'm sorry we've diverged on this one, but, so do we need any further discussion on the board policy updates? We don't have any questions and no further discussion. I'd ask for a motion to approve the second reading of our board policy updates.
So moved.
So we have a second, please.
Second.
Second. Good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Now, we're going to have the first reading of the certified job descriptions, I guess.
Okay, so in your packet, you had something that looked like this. It probably wasn't in color. These are job descriptions, and here's the thing about job descriptions. It is a common human resources practice and among Kentucky schools to have job descriptions for certified and classified folks. It does help us when we're posting a job on our board and so forth. Also, job descriptions are commonly asked for when we have an unemployment hearing or a workman's comp claim, etc. So it does help cover our legal bases when we have those type of events that occur. Job descriptions do have to be board approved, which is why I'm here. We have not had any on record in this district, is what I found out. So I did some research, got some information from fellow HR directors across the state, and used some things that I found through KDE as well, and compiled this. Once I had drafts compiled, I also reached out to people that were in these particular jobs for input. I sent to teachers, any of the certified folks that are on this list, I got input from, and then tweaked it a little bit, and I think we have a pretty sound set of certified job descriptions here. You can take a look at those between now and next meeting, and then we'll do a second read. Once these are complete, I will start working on classified as well, and then at some point we will put them all on the website so that they're accessible to anybody. So, any questions regarding job descriptions?
Evidently not.
Okay.
So we don't have job descriptions for everyone on campus? Superintendents?
We do. Yeah, there's a superintendent. The superintendent job description is in the certified staff.
Is it?
Yes. So these are just certified individuals that require teaching certificates.
We have one for you.
There's one for me in there too. That's Human Resources Director, yes, sir. There is not one for the board members.
I'm over 45, I graduated from high school, that's about it.
Yeah, probably overqualified,
No
underqualified.
duels.
Okay, so I'd like a motion for the approval for first reading of certified job descriptions.
So moved.
And second, please.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen.
Now we have the New Skills for Youth Sustainability Grant.
Yeah, so Mr. Beck.
Mr. Beck.
What I'm coming to you today is to talk to you about the New Skills for Youth Sustainability Grant. You're probably familiar with, we applied over a year ago for the New Skills for Youth Grant, which was slightly in excess of $100,000, and we did receive that, us along with the county school system, Marion County, and LaRue County. We all received that. So what we're doing here is we've begun the work on creating a regional academy for the area technical center to change the name to Launch Point and to begin opening new pathways and bringing more students into that. And we have had tremendous success. One of the roadblocks that we've run into is the corporation that funds the New Skills for Youth grant does not have 2.0 available yet, and it won't be available until probably the spring of 2020. That leaves us in sort of a financial gap of how can we continue the work that we have without losing momentum. So the state of Kentucky went back, and what they did is they created this sustainability grant, and it's a much smaller grant than the initial $100,000. This is only $30,000. But the time frame for getting that done fell in between board meetings, so we bring grants to you for your approval on whether or not we will accept that. I'm happy to say we're in a unique position that we have applied for it and they've offered us. So we already know we're going to get this if your wish is to accept this. But what we'll be using that $30,000 for with your approval is curriculum development at the new ATC, which is, again, Launch Point. I need to get used to using that terminology. And then an intern management work-based system. The students that we have in work-based experience, whether they're internships or co-ops, has grown exponentially over the last year. And with the work that Lance is doing also, it's continuing to grow and grow and grow. And then when you add all the different districts that are in it, it's beginning to become difficult for individual staff members to track and keep up with where our students are, who are they with, what are their needs. And so we're looking now, we're at a point where we need a management system to do that. And we're currently looking at one called Emblaze, and we're going to incorporate that this year. And this grant funding will allow us to continue on with that as we begin to expand it and we offer more regional opportunities. Any questions?
Just great. You had us at free money.
Yeah.
Should have led with that.
That's a no-brainer.
The original 100,000, you said we got 2 or 3 districts or counties that we deal with.
Yes.
Is that divided, or is that the 100,000 originally was for our district?
No, actually, it was, we all applied for that as a group.
Okay.
Marion, Nelson.
So this
LaRue,
30,000, this 30,000 will be divided again.
For the
Just
group.
for us.
It is, no,
For the
this is
group.
for the group.
Okay.
Everything that we do as a group, as a
Okay.
regional academy. And that's been our thought process going through, and we're going to continue to that and expand that. We're trying to think as a regional center instead of just a small group in isolation.
Do we have any additional costs that we incur from our district here?
We did at the beginning of the year. We had a $10,000 fee for materials that we had to have for this year, and then a $5,000 fee which we put towards the coordinator's position. And that was already done several board meetings ago, but other than that, no additional costs that we've had for the regional development.
Okay, great. Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'd like for a motion to approve the New Skills for Youth Sustainability Grant.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, who's going to do the BCS Path to Pro.
Yes, I will invite Lance Blanford to the podium as he's making his way here. Board will remember, probably in February, March time, came before you talking about a real need for workforce development coordinator, a district level person. We had some wonderful applicants. Mr. Blanford, however, he rose to the top and was someone that I feel very fortunate to have. Lance has done a great deal of work, and if the board remembers, some of the terminology that I used that I think will be that's focused on the way that Bardstown City Schools will engage kids in meaningful experiences as we find their passions. We want to do our best to find their passions. So Mr. Blanford took that and ran with it. So I'd like for him to just give you an overview of the work he's done and kind of let you know where we are right now.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate it, Board. Thank you very much for having me here today. I'm excited to introduce the Path to Pro program. It's, as you see, it's the student-driven learning plan and the workforce development program. We essentially have branded the student workforce program. We can start with the name. Obviously, every student has their own individual path. The two is indicative of the different paths that they can take. They can either go on to a higher education learning opportunity, or they can go straight into the workforce. And then the PRO stands for, of course, profession. This is a theme that you'll see as we move through this. It's really about the purpose, the plan, and the practice. I kind of have used this to help the students understand how to navigate through to the end result, which is their next step after they leave Bardstown High School. So as you'll see, the first step is going to be purpose, and then the next is developing the plan, and then determining the practice, and then ultimately, like I said, that ends up being their path. Kind of help you understand the why behind this. This is the best graphic I found to represent why it's so important to have a workforce development program within education. As you see, I feel like that in this case, the supplier is kind of synonymous with education. It's our responsibility to make sure that we're preparing kids with the opportunities, students with the opportunities of career awareness, career exploration, preparation, the pre-employment training, and the onboarding. And as you'll see, this is where the workforce development program, I think, resides mostly, is where the two kind of blend, the education and the employer role. Excuse me, it's a little bit faded there, but this is where we kind of reside to make sure that we're bringing industry and education together for the best interest of our students. As I mentioned, the goal is to ensure the purpose, the plan, and the practice. And we're going to do that by kind of linking meaningful instruction and real-world application, getting employers into the classroom and doing some project-based learning experiences. And then ultimately, we're going to connect students and their school networks, and then students with their professional networks, so that once they leave, they always have someone back here in Bardstown to fall back on. With improved connections, between those that I mentioned, the goal is to improve transition readiness and post-secondary outcomes. That ultimately is the goal. Step one, as I mentioned, developing the purpose. Students are going to participate in real-world activities, reality fairs, poverty simulators, engaging guest speakers. We have to get the students to understand the purpose, not only the purpose of developing the plan and having like a set, a certain way to develop that plan, but they also need to understand their own individual purpose and what they're good at and all of that. And that's where this kind of comes into play. And with the help of Mike Paul, our technology coach, we've done a great job of implementing skills assessments and interest inventories to kind of help those students understand a little bit more, a lot of it, about themselves and what they're good at and what they want to kind of pursue maybe going forward. Every year, they can take that skills assessment and interest inventory and change their focus if they feel necessary. As you see there at the bottom.
Can we go back and ask a question?
Sure.
What, the poverty simulator?
Put that down on that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so a poverty simulator is it's kind of like a reality store, so that they can understand that like certain situations that people may face out in the community, whether they're making a lot of money or maybe they're not making so much money, and how to navigate through and utilize different resources to help themselves kind of be more successful. So it's a real world application, and it gives them like different scenarios, and they have to spend money on groceries, and they have to spend money on childcare, and they have to spend money on transportation, and it kind of helps them understand maybe certain situations that they may face, and if they don't have a certain plan of action, and then how to overcome those and the different resources that are available in our community. So it gives them a real world experience, and it's heavily moderated and make sure that it's done.
So it's kind of a modern version of how to balance a checkbook.
Yeah, in short, yeah. Okay, and this kind of gives you an example. We've already completed a skills and interest inventory with our senior class, and this is the results that we're already getting. So we're already getting real valuable data. It's important to not only the community, but of course to the workforce development program. But as you'll see, one of the leading interests for our students in the senior class right now is healthcare at 22%. Business, it comes in next at 20.9, and then it's followed up by manufacturing, and then you've got a tie between education and what was that? Construction, education and construction. So this will help us kind of better determine the programming that we're doing within the school, and also at launch point to kind of guide our students and making sure that we are giving them the resources, the programming resources to be successful and kind of pursue those passions. But this is the type of data that, like I said, will drive us moving forward. Step 2, developing the plan. This is kind of the bulk of the program, if you will. We're going to help the students develop an individualized learning plan called their P2P, and it's going to engage the academic portion, their family, teachers, and the professional network, and it's going to essentially be a digital representation of all the work that they're doing throughout their course here at Marshall High School and middle school as well. And then at the end, it's going to have a set plan for them going into their post-secondary opportunities. It's going to be aligned with our ACES curriculum, which obviously I'm sure you all know stands for Academics, Community, Economics, and Social Awareness. I can kind of give you, and that highlights the ACES there, and I can kind of give you an example of a P2P here in just a minute. As I mentioned, part of the transition, part of the plan is the transition readiness. So as part of the transition, they need to be prepared to have a college admissions letter, military acceptance letter, industry certification, or a letter of intent to hire. And is going to be approved by their advisor or counselor. So we're going to be real hands-on in making sure that we're leading these kids and that they do have a determined path after they leave Marshall High School. And you can kind of take a look at it. This is an example of my, we can come back to that.
Yep.
So what Lance is saying, though, is this Path to Pro program is what we talked about with the ILP, is we talked about expanding our research, or expanding our work into the regional academy. We had to make sure that we weren't just pushing students into work-based experiences just to say, oh, 100% of our kids have work-based experience. We wanted it to be meaningful for them. We wanted it to be something that they truly felt passionate about, it's something they had a knowledge base about, or it was something that they wanted to pursue as a career. Because we all know in any facet of education, the more meaningful it is to the student, the more they're going to retain it, the more passionate they're going to be about it.
Sure. Thank you,
Tag.
for filling in there. Okay, this is, for example, my P2P. This is what the students are going to create. As you see, they've got an about portion. They can kind of describe themselves a little bit. And as I mentioned, it's aligned with the ACES curriculum. And within each one of those, students are going to upload documents and things that are personal to them that they want to display to maybe a future employer or their parents or their teachers or maybe even to a college that they're interested in applying to. And this can kind of highlight their plan or their accomplishments over the course of their high school career. If you scroll across the top there, you can kind of see some drop downs. Go to economic. The economic is the big portion here. They're going to have their resume, their career inventories are all listed there. Their financial literacy course information is all there. Their work-based learning, and then their path to greatness and their Tiger Stripes. I can explain Tiger Stripes a little bit more at a later date. The Tiger Stripes essentially is how they're going to be graded on this plan. Long story. All right, go back to the path to pro, please. Thank you. Step 3 is determining the practice. This is where they put after they've developed their plan, once they found their purpose and they've developed their plan, they're going to put it into practice. And this is essentially the work-based learning opportunities. It's getting out of the community and practicing what they've been working towards. Mostly it's going to reside in their senior, sometimes their junior year, that they're going to get these opportunities. And it's going to be through co-ops, internships, apprenticeships, etc. And then this is the website that we've developed, again, with the help of Mr. Paul. It's going to take you to, it should be able to. Here's the attached. What you're going to see on this website is on the home page, here we go. It says discover your purpose, develop your plan. And so again, that theme is still there. Purpose, plan, practice, that's going to determine your path. If you'll scroll down a little bit more, what we've put on there is when I'm out in the community and I'm talking with the industry, I'm getting these opportunities for these students. And this is a job board for them to access. They can go on and apply for different positions out in the community. As you'll see, Parson City Schools, we have a business marketing assistant internship opportunity open, and they can click that and go through. It has all the information about how to apply for that job, the hours, the pay, and then of course a job description and the contact information. If you go up to the purpose, within the classroom, what we've designed is where teachers and students have a step-by-step process at developing this plan. So as I mentioned, step 1 was the skills assessment, and then it has a little video to show how to complete that skills assessment. Step 2, interest inventory. It shows a video how to complete that. And then this is where that data that I showed you prior, this is where all this data is collected. They give us the information and say, okay, based on your interest and your skills assessment, what job opportunity are you interested in? And that comes back, and that, again, is that data that I showed you as far as the healthcare, manufacturing, etc. We're doing the same with the plan and with the practice. The teachers and the students have pretty much are walked through how to do all of that through the plan. How to build the Google website, example of the power of the P2P. Scroll on up. So anyways, what this is, like I said, what our goal is here is to make sure that they have a real concrete idea about what they want to do, and then developing a plan on how to get there. And then once they're there, connecting them with the industry and other community members to make that a reality. And then hopefully establishing that next step for them and making sure that they have a real bright future ahead of them. Any questions?
Was this an off-the-shelf product or something you and Mr. Paul developed?
We developed this.
It's fantastic. Really good
We
work on
developed
that.
this. The students have responded to it based on being that's technology driven. What I'm really excited about is something that Mr. Beck referred to about that management system, the work-based learning management system. It'll be integrated into this website as well. It's social media-like, where they can go in, they can access different work-based learning opportunities, share with friends, say, hey, I heard you were interested in manufacturing. Here's this job, and they can send it right over to them on their mobile device. All of this is mobile friendly, so they have their plan at their fingertips at all times. And so, they've really responded to this, and I've already had several students reach out and ask me questions, and looking forward to it.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Say I want to be a brain surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I fit into this plan?
Well, luckily for, Barstow has a lot of opportunities in the programming already. And so, for example, if you were to tell your guidance counselor, hey, I'm really interested in being a brain surgeon, the guidance counselor is going to say, okay, well, let's pull up your plan. Let's take a look at this. What have you already accomplished in your academics? What's the next step? And then kind of helps them, helps them, the guidance counselor can use this as a resource to guide them in that direction. And then, like say, for example, I could pull up the student's Path to Pro plan anywhere I'm at. And so if I go out maybe into Hardin Memorial or Flash A, and I could say, hey, Mr. Brain Surgeon, I got the student that's really interested in being a brain surgeon. Here's their Path to Pro program. Take a look at all that he or she has accomplished. And then it's a running document, and they're a lot more confident in bringing and allowing a student in to maybe shadow or, again, just do an internship or co-op opportunity under their guidance. So it's, it's got multiple uses, but in that scenario, I think that's probably where it would be most useful. Yeah. Any other questions?
I'll add a comment. I mean, there's been multiple examples, really since April, that kids have reached out in various ways. Now they have a much more systematic way for Mr. Blanford to know what's going on. But even early on, him discovering students' interests and passions and finding ways to work magic and get kids into opportunities. And I think we're just scratching the surface. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Great. Thank you, Mr. Blanford.
Mr. Blanford is an example of what this board and this school system is trying to do.
Yeah.
Is get certified and qualified graduates of this school to come back and be its leaders, just like you. Congratulations.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All righty, we'll move to item number 10 on our agenda, which is the approval of local tax rates for 2019. And I'm going to ask for should we have some discussion first? Or should we move right to motion? What would you like to do, board?
I'll start with a motion.
Let's start with the motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2019 tax rate at 86.2 for real estate.
I'd like to start with a motion before that, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry, please. I thought you wanted.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2019 tax rate as 2% for real estate and personal property with 2 cents added to recovery prior year losses due to exonerations at 53.1 for motor vehicles.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? That motion, no second will fail right now, or table, I suppose. How do we do that?
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
Further, Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to make a motion to approve the 2019 tax rate as 3% for real estate and personal property with 2 cents added to recover prior year losses due to exonerations and 53.1 for motor vehicles.
The motion is made. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
Your aye or nay?
Are you opposed to it, Ms. River?
Yes.
Nay. Yeah, we have 3 nays. Motion fails. So
Can-
Go ahead,
Oh.
please.
Well, I was going to make a little bit of a statement.
Please, yes, go right ahead, please.
Okay. And the first thing I want to do is thank the people that attended the public hearing, because regardless of the outcome today, and I think I can speak for my colleagues, that we all listen very carefully and we take it into consideration. So thank you very much for that. My vote for the 3%, I did a hard look on school finance, and even the, I'm kind of a nerd, and I go back and even look at the history of the taxation with the schools and how that's involved. And I feel like the schools often take the blame for many of society's ailments, from racial strife to poverty to crime. people expect a great deal from their school because there's an unmistakable link between a school achievement, education, and quality of life. Educated citizens, as we've talked about, provide the brain power for advances in science, medicine, and technology, art, and literature. Uneducated or poorly educated citizens populate the nation's prisons and public aid programs. Now, I looked at this because I've had some people talk to me and say, well, I don't have kids in the public school. Why should I pay taxes for that? And so I kind of, this is my opinion, looking at, so what do taxpayers in our community get for the money they invest in education? And these are some things that I thought of. The percentage of students who graduate, we get the percentage of students who graduate who go on to college or take jobs. We get that. We benefit that as a community. We also gain improvements in student test scores. The number of students who make it through school without ever being in trouble with the law, caught using drugs or alcohol or serious trouble. The number of students passing all their courses or learning, are taking honor level grades, courses. Individual success stories about graduates from a few years ago who have gone on to an active success in jobs or college, just as you mentioned, Mr. Blanford. School programs that show dramatic results in staff members with outstanding achievements. So, with all that being said, I take that very seriously, that it's extremely important that we maintain our skills and what we're providing for our students. As we talked about at the public hearing, the majority of our money goes to our teachers. You know, that's something I don't want to compromise on. However, I did hear what you all said, and I did hear Mr. Stone speak of compromise. Therefore, that's where I went with the 3%.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any more? Just thank you. We're looking for a motion now for the 4% increase, 86.2 cents for real estate, and 52.2 cents added to recover our prior year's loss exonerations, and 53.1 for motor vehicles. Do we have a motion for the 4% increase?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. I'll read this again. The motion is to approve the 2019 tax rate as 86.2 cents for real estate and personal property, with a 0.2 cent added to recover prior year's losses due to exonerations, and 53.1 cents for motor vehicles. And that motion has passed. Now, we need approval for travel authorizations.
So in your packet, give me a second to pull that up. So I usually review that with you. Give me just a second. And let's see, I think we had a couple of travel authorizations. We have two. Thank you. We're going to share that with me. So we have our middle school and high school chorus. They're going to be traveling the Kentucky American Choral Directors Association All-State Chorus event. That trip is in November in Lexington. It's going to be approximately 20 students. The trip is funded through the Friends of Chorus activity. There's going to be a small contribution from students. And of course, you know, as a board, if we need to help a student out with that, we certainly will make sure that happens. The method of transportation is a school bus. The other is a speech team. Our high school speech team is traveling to UK for a national speech and debate season opener. That trip is in September. It's for approximately 6 students. And they will be staying at the Embassy Suite, so it is an overnight. I think it's 2 nights in September. that's funded through the speech general account and the Friends of Speech account. They're going to be traveling by school bus. Those are the only two overnight authorizations that are requested from the board.
Do we have a motion to approve the travel authorizations?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Now we've got personnel resignations.
Yeah, so you all have a list of those resignations. These are essentially, positions over the summer, folks that resign those positions over the summer. So that information is in your board packet.
And we have the SBDM council minutes in the packet as well. And that moves us to item number 14, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Our adjournment passes. All right. Officially, we're adjourned. Thank you all.